from Royal Communications Incorporated. A pleasant good morning and welcome to King's Newsroom for the 5 minutes of news from Liberia and the rest of our one word. Today is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. My name is Cornelius Johnson Angering. Story topping the headlines. Liberia National Police clears suspended youth and sports deputy minister Brian McGill of rape allegations. IG Gregory Coleman says investigators found no incriminating evidence. St. Kennedy Funeral Parlor in Bond County issues one-month ultimatum on families with overstay remains at its facilities, claims over 96,000 United States dollars for embalmment costs. Maryland County Senator Pablo Brown accuses government of undermining Accra Peace Accord and violation of the nation's rule of law. Away from home, a Kenyan police officer stationed at one of the gates of the president's official residence in the capital, Nairobi, has died after being shot with an arrow, officials have said. And Donald Trump's quick trip to Israel and Egypt was the victory lap he wanted. The news bulletin, the voices of the newsmakers are all packaged in this edition of the program. We take a very short break to be right back. The Liberia National Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman says investigators have found no incriminating evidence against suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill following an analysis of his mobile phone. Speaking Tuesday at a regular press briefing, IG Coleman disclosed that the phone examination produced nothing that would warrant a charge against McGill, who was accused of rape. He added that the next phase of the investigations involved DNA testing, but the process has been delayed due to malfunctioning equipment and have requested assistance from a foreign government, but are still waiting support. IG Coleman told the press briefing that McGill is cooperating well with the investigation, with his passport in possession of the police so as to not leave the country, and mobile phones turned over for further screening. With DNA machines in the country not working at the moment to run the former ministers and the alleged victim specimen, the police said it remains the final remedy to close the alleged rape case. In a separate development, IG Coleman announced the arrest of 6 individuals in connection with the brutal assault on Prince Yelu, who was reportedly accused of being a motorbike thief. St. Kennedy Funeral Home in Banga has alarmed over the prolonged state of 2 deceased persons whose bodies have been deposited at the facility since 2021. Speaking to journalists in Banga Tuesday, the funeral home director Kennedy Smith issued a one-month ultimatum for the families of the bodies to come forward, settle their obligations, and give their loved ones a dignified burial. Smith expressed deep concern over the overstay of the corpses, describing it as both emotionally and financially burdensome for his establishment. He disclosed that the funeral home has been keeping the remains of the late Big Boy Flomo, 32, who died on November 25, 2021 in Kokoya District, and the late Jenkins Gradley, 16, who passed away on October 5, 2021 in Palala District. According to him, both families signed contracts authorizing embalmment and agreed to settle all related costs before retrieving the remains for burial. However, nearly 4 years later, the families have failed to fulfill those obligations, leaving their funeral home to shoulder the costs. He estimated that the accumulated storage cost has now reached about 96,000 United States dollars for the 2 bodies combined. Smith noted that while he understands the difficult financial situations many families face, his facility cannot continue to keep the remains indefinitely. Maryland County Senator J. Blebo Brown has frowned on by governance on the United Party-led government, terming it as a violation of the rule of law. Speaking at the opening of the 42nd section of the Liberian Senate on Tuesday, Senator Brown said continued refusal to adhere to the rule of law undermines the Ghana-Accra Peace Accord. According to him, Accra Peace talks about adherence to good governance and the rule of law, something he said the United Party government for the past 2 years have failed to uphold. Senator Brown criticized the continuing tenure of the chairperson and co-chairperson of the Governance Commission, who, according to him, have not appeared before the Senate for confirmation in over 2 years. He described their continued service as illegal and a direct affront to the constitutional authority of the legislature. The Maryland County Senator noted that the Governance Commission initially established to promote democratic reform and good governance, adding that the executive branch continuing approval of the chairperson and co-chairperson undermined the status of good governance. He called on plenary of the Liberian Senate to invite the Ministry of Justice to answer questions why the executive branch continuing to disrespect legal and constitutional authority bodies. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches has underscored the need for President Joseph Boakai to reshuffle the cabinet. Bishop Brown noted that after 2 years of the ascendancy, the president has not been able to overhaul his government as a means of ensuring inclusion and rotation. The general overseer of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International believes the overhauling of the cabinet will bring some new dynamism and inject new strategies in addressing the bread and butter issues and economic challenges of the ordinary people. He claimed that after 2 years, it's time President Joseph Boakai make review of the performances of officials in order to open a new page that will help accelerate social, economic, and infrastructural development by making his vision a reality. According to Bishop Brown, former President George Weah maintained a one set of people in governance until the Liberian people became very wary of their performances of certain officials in some positions in government. Sano County Senator Councillor Augustine Chie has decried what he termed deplorable conditions of schools in the county, speaking Tuesday in section of the Liberian Senate on update from his constituency. Councillor Chie said rapidly deteriorating state of public infrastructure and education in his county, calling for an urgent intervention in the upcoming national budget. Senator Chie described the alarming conditions of schools in Sano, especially public school, as an extreme state of disrepair. He reported that numerous schools' buildings lack roofs, walls, or even chairs, rendering them completely unfit for learning. As a result, a significant number of students remain out of school. He lamented the government's chronic neglect of rural education and pointed out the most public schools in Sano are currently closed, adding or calling it a national embarrassment. Senator Chie stressed that the upcoming national budget must prioritize significant investments in education roles and essential infrastructure, adding that if nothing is done in the upcoming budget, he will not support the budget's passage. The senator also highlighted the dire state of rural connectivity in the county, especially in Greenville, Sano's capital, and one of Liberia's most populated cities. He explained that the poor condition of rural is crippling access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for thousands of citizens. In addition to educational rules, Senator Chie criticized the dilapidated condition of government buildings, including the administrative complex, city hall, and other public service facilities. Senator Chie called on his fellow legislators to move beyond political rhetoric and take decisive actions that reflects the lively or the realities of ordinary Liberians. For the second day in a row, academic activities at the Woodon VS High School have come to a complete halt as frustrated 12th grade students staged protests over the unexplained withholding of their mathematics results from the West African Senior School certificate examination. WAEC, the regional body responsible for administering the exams, has cited suspected collusion as the reasons for the delay, but has failed to provide any public evidence or clarification to support the claim the affected students whose graduation depends on the release of these results are accusing WAEC of negligence and lack of transparency. More on the stories coming up in our news. And in an effort to transform Liberia's tourism industry into a substance for inclusion, economic growth, the Governance Commission, in partnership with the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism and the Liberia National Tourism Authority, Tuesday convened a one-day public policy dialogue on tourism at the EJS Ministerial Complex in Monrovia, held under the theme Reviewing Liberia's Tourism Sector for Inclusive Economic Growth and Development. The reform brought together government officials, private sector leaders, civil society actors, and international partners to chart a new course for tourism policy and development in Liberia. In his opening remarks, Professor Alaric Tokwa, chairman of the Governance Commission, described the reform as a timely and strategic platform aligned with Liberia's national development agenda. Professor Tokwa emphasized tourism's potential to create job, preserve culture, and reinforce national identity, reflecting on the recent high-level cultural change, with Sierra Leone noting that it understood the role of tourism in fostering regional integration and historical recognition. He also praised international partners, notably the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, and extended special recognition to Mr. Nosa, Nigeria's Director General for Planning, Research and Development, for his role in promoting cross-border cooperation. Also in remarks, Christopher Onanunga, Director General of the Liberia National Tourism Authority, called on stakeholders to review tourism as more than a recreational sector, but a vehicle for empowerment, environmental protection, and national transformation. He announced upcoming entrepreneurship initiatives designed to help Liberians turn modest capital into viable businesses within the tourism value chain. Onanuga also emphasized the importance of reclaiming Liberia's cultural narrative, highlighting the importance of regional cooperation, pointing to Nigeria's success in translating complex challenges into economic opportunities. Ambassador Onanuga urged Liberians to embrace homegrown solutions and unlock the potential of local resources for biodiversity to agricultural output. The news bulletin, we take a very short break. When we come back, we bring you the voices of the newsmakers on the program. Indeed, if you just join us, a reminder you are in tune to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes of news from Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Wednesday, October 15, 2025. One of our top stories this morning: Maryland County Senator Lebo Brown accuses government of undermining Accra Peace Accord and violation of the nation's rule of law. Let's now bring you voices of the newsmakers. Today's development now, the Liberia National Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman says investigators have found no incriminating evidence against suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill following an analysis of his mobile phone. Speaking Tuesday at MICA regular press briefing, IG Coleman disclosed that the phone examination produced nothing that would warrant a charge against McGill, who was accused of raping a minor. He added that the next phase of the investigations involved DNA testing, but the process has been delayed due to malfunctioning equipment, but have requested assistance from a foreign government, but are still awaiting support. Here now is Police IG Gregory Coleman.
On the Brian McGill case, we were at the point where his phone was being analyzed. We had exhausted that of the cell phone tower records, which supported his alibi. And we had two last steps, and that was one, the analysis of his phone, and that of the DNA testing. The phone analysis has come back, and we still have not found anything incriminating in the phone to have him charged. So at this point, the last thing we're looking at will be if we can find any other information from the DNA analysis. Unfortunately, the machines here are not working, so we've asked for help, and we're still waiting for response from the government that we've asked for help on this issue. Let me say this, we're investigators. We cannot allow our personal emotions to lead the investigation. Then basically, we fail. We've already failed. And to a larger extent, I think our emotions have been high for all of us on this particular case. Unfortunately, we just have not been able to establish the probable cause. In this case, I know there was a case cited of Oklahoma versus Republic of Liberia, where this guy was accused by the lady, and yes, he was brought into to answer, and he was charged for his crime. If this had been a case where this girl in an isolated area in a bush or somewhere had an encounter with this particular man and said, this is the man, yes, we're arresting for him to come and vindicate himself. What makes this case unique is that there's electronic evidence that contradicts what these claims are. So on the basis of that, we cannot look at an upright contradiction of the evidence and go ahead and make an arrest. I would like to re-echo, no one is above the law. As a matter of fact, Mr. McGill has already been suspended. So if it's his right and dignity as a minister that we're trying to protect, I think by now that has been stripped off him, and we should be able to do the needful. Unfortunately, in this case, what the needful is not what everybody else would want to hear. But we're still looking, the investigation is not closed. Something did happen to the little girl, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
His police IG Gregory Coleman speaking Tuesday at Mika regular press briefing in Monrovia. St. Kennedy Funeral Home in Banga has alarmed over the prolonged state of two deceased persons whose bodies have been deposited at the facility since 2021. Speaking to journalists in Banga Tuesday, the funeral home director, Kennedy Smith, issued a one-month ultimatum for the families of the bodies to come forward, settle their obligations, and give their loved ones a dignified burial. Smith expressed deep concern over the overstay of the corpses, describing it as both emotionally and financially burdensome for his establishment.
October to November make the both their bodies 4 good years. The government try to help the bereaved family by performing autopsies to know the cause of death. Since then, the family member they don't want to take the body. So I decided to have a clearance, to go to the court and have a clearance to bury those two remains at anything. So I appealed to the family member to please come over and claim the cost from the funeral home. I will not allow them to take the body with all paying the money. And the government responsible. The government will help them to perform atrocities that mean the cause of death. So I appealed to them, ordered them to please come and take the cost from there. Yes, and then the first autopsies, paternity autopsy, claim that this particular Ibo was not died by train. The second autopsy man said he would die by train.
Two separate reports.
No, the Ibo was not died by train.
Okay.
It was for the fireplace.
Okay.
From fireplace, they were not killed by plane.
By train.
And the train, right?
Okay.
The report was the result went to the county attorney along with the family. So I now have no result for giving value.
So how long has the causes been here for?
as I told you, this month and November will make it 4 years for two of them.
Okay. So,
4 years.
why you won't be done now?
Well, I appeal to them to come for the cops and pay my money, or else I will get rid of them through the court. I get rid of the DC through the court.
You will bury them.
Yes, I will get rid of them.
Maryland County Senator J. Blebo Brown has frowned on by governance under the United Party led administration, terming it as a violation of the rule of law. Speaking at the opening of the 42nd section of the Liberian Senate on Tuesday, Senator Brown said continued refusal to adhere to the rule of law undermined the Ghana Accra Peace Accord. According to him, Accra Peace talks about adherence to good governance and the rule of law, something he said the United Party government for the past 2 years have failed to uphold. Here now is Maryland County Senator J. Blebo Brown.
And when we assembled in Accra, why did we fight war? We said it was bad governance. For this reason, the CPA, the Accra Peace Accord, established the Good Governance Commission, which later on became the Governance Commission. But we see today, the Governance Commission is becoming the grounds for the practice of bad governance. For 2 years, we've had the chairman and the co-chairman that have not come to this Senate for nomination. In fact, the Supreme Court had ruled that their nomination appointment was illegal. Yes, they are still in that position, managing and executing the budget that have been approved by this body. We are going for the 10th year. We're going to go for the 10th budget. These people are still there. I will make some letters of communication, but plenary we invite the Minister of Justice as to why the executive cannot honor and respect the decisions of the Supreme Court of Liberia. The second thing I want to highlight has to do with the applications of the rape law. In 2014, our police that were before us passed a law, the harshest law, that to a large extent went against the interest of men in this country. When we came in 2015, we tried to review it. One of our colleagues tried to impose an amendment. Said, getting the prevalent rate of rape in our country, babies are being raped, killed. So we said, let's swallow that bitter pill until we reverse the trend of rape in our country. We see that the Inspector General of Police has introduced a new phenomenon in the application of the rape law. Is asking for DNA test from the American Embassy. This country has always trusted the decision of the police in investigation. Why now? So in this application, I'm going to have two on the end left. I'm almost done. This position. I will have 2 ways of implementing the rape law.
Is Maryland County Senator J. Blebo Brown speaking on Tuesday. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches has underscored the need for President Joseph Boyka to reshuffle the cabinet. Bishop Brown noted that after 2 years of ascendancy, the president has not been able to overhaul his government as a means of ensuring inclusion and rotation. The general overseer of the Apostolic Church International believes the overhauling of the cabinet will bring some new dynamism and inject new strategies in addressing the broad and broader issues and economic challenges of the ordinary people. Here now is Bishop Kotu Brown.
Time for President Buckeye to overhaul his cabinet. President Weah made the same underestimation, I would call it, kept one group of people for a long time, even when the public complained, and or when he himself felt like they may not have been matching up to expectation. But then sometimes you become protective, you become defensive, and sometimes you try to make it like when your actors are criticized, then you criticize. No, the work of the Liberian people is to review the performance of government, and they should do that every day. This is the work of the legislature also, but you know, the legislature, you got lawmakers, executive branch people who are working in title. They all can issue Facebook posts together, and of course, people don't understand the implications of all that kind of play. I call it. Maybe it's time, and I say maybe it's time to maybe get overhaul. Who knows? It may contribute to lessening the economic pain. other librarians, because somebody will come into office that may be cognizant of the fact that you could be replaced. And of course, it doesn't sometimes help because then it doesn't contribute stability in performance, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it's necessary. Imagine, President, we are keeping people for 6 years. They became the quote unquote unmovables. Maybe it's time. Maybe we're reaching the two-year mark. 2 years for national governance. 2 years, smart, not just new faces. First, I think that the government should do a performance review. What would the objectives say to all the sectors? Where are we? We have 6 years. What did we set as our objective in the different sectors? Whether it's finance, human support, health, agriculture, foreign affairs. What did we set as our objective? What do we want to achieve in 2 years? And where are we in that process? To me, they should tell us where they are. Focus on what they're doing and how they get Liberian people informed about what they're doing to be able to address the challenges they face economically. I think if they did that would be helpful. Because sometimes people don't even know what's happening.
He's the former president of the Liberia Council of Churches, Bishop Cotto Brown, there speaking. Indeed, if you just join us, a reminder you are in tune to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes of news from Liberia and the rest of our one world. Story topping the headlines this morning: Liberia National Police clears suspended youth and sports deputy minister Brian McGill of rape allegations. IG Gregory Coburn says investigators found no incriminating evidence. St. Kennedy Funeral Parlor in Bond County issues 1 month ultimatum on families with overstay remains at its facilities, claims over 96,000 United States dollars for embalmment cost. Maryland County Senator Blebo Brown accuses government of undermining Accra Peace Accord in violation of the nation's rule of law. Away from home, a KM police officer stationed at one of the gates of the president's official residence in capital Nairobi has died after being shot with an arrow, officials have said. And Donald Trump's quick trip to Israel and Egypt was the victory lap he wanted. More on these stories are coming up, but we take a very short break to be right back. Many thanks for being there and welcome back. For the second day in a row, academic activities at the William V. Stockman High School have come to a complete halt as frustrated 12th graders stage protests over the unexplained overherding or withholding of their mathematics results from the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WAEC. The regional body responsible for administering the exams have cited suspected collusion as the reasons for the delay, but has failed to provide any public evidence or clarification to support the claim that affected students whose graduation depends on the release of these results are accusing WAEC of negligence and lack of transparency. Our reporter Benjamin Johnson filed in this report.
Classes at William V. Stockman High School in Monrovia have been disrupted for a second consecutive day as outgoing 12th grade students stage protest over withheld examination results. The students who completed this year's West African Senior School Certificate examinations are demanding the immediate release of their mathematical result, which they say is critical to finalizing their graduation process. According to the West African Examination Council, the results are being withheld over suspicions of collusions during the exam. The charge has not been publicly detailed. On Tuesday morning, dozens of students gathered on the school campus in protest, calling on WAS to act swiftly. The demonstrations had forced the suspensions of regular classes, with schools' operations at standstill and tensions remained on high. Education authorities have yet to issue an official statement on the situation. From Singapore, I am Benjamin Boy Johnson, King News, Monrovia.
Sano County Council that Sano County Senator Councilor Augustine Chi has declared what he termed deplorable conditions of schools in the county. Speaking Tuesday in session of the Liberian Senate on update from his constituency, Councilor Chi said rapidly deteriorating state of public infrastructure and education in his county, and therefore calling an urgent intervention in the upcoming national budget. Senator Chi described the alarming conditions of schools in Sino, especially public school, as an extreme state of disrepair. He reported that numerous schools buildings lack roof, walls, or even chairs, rendering them completely unfit for learning. As a result, a significant number of students remain out of school.
One of the areas I pay attention to during my break was the area of education. And I spend a good amount of time visiting schools, in addition to providing financial support in terms of materials and what have you to institutions. But what I observed is very serious. And this is where I'm coming from with this question. What do we do with all of the information we provide and briefing like this? Every time we come back, we do this. But when the budget comes to us, these things are not factored into the budget. Now, I have a problem with our government. Most of the schools inside the public school are in horrible condition. Some of them, no roof. If the roof is there, because of that, some of the schools are not open. Please take note of that. The budget is coming to us. Let's look at these things and see how we can address some of the problems that our people are confronting through the budgetary process. There are students who are not in school in Sino at this time because there's no roof over the school building. I'm sure for some of you who follow the social media, you might see me donating today to many schools in the county just to ensure that they have roof over their head to go to school. It should be our responsibility. They should be taken care of in the budget. And emphasize to ensure that we do something about that. We look at the education ministry budget, and something is done for the school. Some don't even have chairs. Some not even a blackboard they have. They have been to build a school building in one of the second most populated settlement in China that has one. That has the dilapidated building. We need to address this through the budget. Let's do that.
The senator also highlighted the dire state of rural connectivity in the counties, especially in Greenville, Sino's capital and one of Liberia's most populated cities. He explained that the poor condition of roads is crippling access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for thousands of citizens. In addition to educational roles, Senator Chie criticized the dilapidated conditions of government buildings, including the administrative complex, city hall, and other public service facilities.
In addition to that, our city roads, the roads in the city of Greenville, 10 original county, go see the roads. They are all in a deplorable condition. I brought that to the attention of the Minister of Public Works, and I spoke with the chair on Public Works about that. He promised to help us. I hope that Public Works will help us this dry season so that some work can be done on the city roads. The city of Greenville, the roads are impassable. As it rains now, the rain is heaviest there at this time. Roads are impassable. In the city, I'm talking about the city of Greenville. And something needs to be done about that. We will look at the problem budget also about how we attend to these infrastructure issues that are in our county. Not areas of concern is the way we neglect public functions. You go to Sino County, the largest public building in the county, which is the administration building, very beautiful building, is in neglect, dilapidated. They have not been maintained for I don't know how many years now. You go to the city hall, same thing. You go to the district district administration building, very beautiful building. Nobody using it now. The oil booster, the problems are over. On infrastructure, there's something that we need to do beyond the just talking. The private government should address this problem through the budget. And for me, this time, when the budget comes in, Senator Finley said, I will not vote for any budget.
His Sano County Senator Augustine Chie speaking at the Liberian Senate on Tuesday. In an effort to transform Liberia's tourism industry into a substance for inclusive economic growth, the Governance Commission, in partnership with the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism and the Liberia National Tourism Authority, Tuesday convened a one-day public policy dialogue on tourism at the EJS Ministerial Complex in Monrovia. Held under the theme Reviewing Liberia's Tourism Sector for Inclusive Economic Growth and Development, the reform brought together government officials, private sector leaders, civil society actors, and international partners to chart a new course for the tourism policy and development in Liberia. In his opening remarks, Professor Alaric Tokwa, chairman of the Governance Commission, described the forum as a timely and strategic platform aligned with Liberia's national development agenda. Professor Tokwa emphasized tourism's potential to create jobs, preserve culture, and reinforce national identity, reflecting on the recent high-level cultural exchange with Sierra Leone, noting that it underscored the role of tourism in fostering regional integration and historical recognition.
In my capacity as acting chairman of the Governance Commission, I am deeply honored to welcome all of you to this National Tourism Policy Dialogue on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and the Governance Commission family, but particularly on behalf of the public sector reformatic area, co-guided and directed by Commissioner Sianem Gasaki, who has led the organization of this policy dialogue. This dialogue is convening for the theme a review of Liberia's tourism sector for sustained economic growth and development. The Governance Commission, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, as well as the National Tourism Authority, has organized this forum to look at, among others, government leadership, passenger building in tourism, a review of tourism tax regime, the digitization of the tourism sector, the Ministry of Information, the Liberian Institute for Statistics and Geoinformation Services, AGIS, and the Liberia Revenue Authority, among other institutions. This is a gathering of visionaries. It is a gathering of custodians and architects of Liberia's future. Just today, we massively convene to embrace policy. We gather to reimagine possibilities. Let me therefore express our deepest appreciation to His Excellency President Joshua Jumabwaka Sr., whose visionary leadership has breathed life into the Liberia Tourism Authority. Passage of the Liberia National Tourism Act under his administration is a milestone in our national development drive, an affirmation that tourism is central to our development vision, our cultural diplomacy, and our global rebranding. So on behalf of the Governance Commission, I extend heartfelt congratulations to the newly appointed leadership of the Liberia National Tourism Authority, with Honorable Ms. Princess Ibakopa, Director General, and Honorable Mr. Duba Norris, Jr., Deputy Director General for Planning, Research and Development. Their appointments mark the dawn of a new chapter, one that calls for bold stewardship, continued foresight, and unwavering commitment to excellence.
Also in remarks, Christopher Unanunga, Director General of the Liberia National Tourism Authority, called on stakeholders to review tourism as more than a recreational sector, but as a vehicle for empowerment, environmental protection, and national transformation. He announced upcoming entrepreneurship initiatives designed to help Liberians turn modest capital into viable businesses within the tourism value chain.
The sector to work better. But most importantly, we force it if it doesn't want to work well. Today, the room may look as if we're not ready. But when we're done with Liberia, we increase the employment in all sectors beyond all. This drive is not a singular drive, it's a collective one. Tourism provides the opportunity for every human being to get two jobs. To first be employed, and then to be unemployed. With simple metrics, we move from set A to set B to see. The Director General yesterday spoke about the sun and the sand that used to be. But with tourism, now environmental determinant and possibility will return sand to glass and gold, and will return garbage into porous and diamonds. That be understood right now. By the time we teach you how to use $300 to start a business, and in 4 months it starts to earn you $4,000, you will understand. You will understand. In agriculture, you have consolidated farms. In tourism, everything is consolidated. You are a wife, you are a businesswoman, you are a mother, but also you could be a manager. We must first of all understand it, characteristics, which is believing in yourself. And we're going to show you how to sensitize, how to orientate, how to brand Liberia, introduce Liberia to the world and market Liberia. You will feel the cool homes in your skin based on what people say about Liberia. And then you will know we're the final destination of choice. This dream did not come by mistake. It is imbibed in the bloodstream. To our partners, now is the time. Where every dime you spend will provide you possibility of $10, and every million you spend will provide you possibility of $1 billion. There is nowhere in the world where tourism in a small country like this will work better. And I will give you a few lines before I get up the stage. In West Africa, with Liberia holding 48% of our hydrocarbon credit, the forest is so rich. And we're going to expose the forest to the youth on what they can do with the forest to empower themselves financially and no longer be beggars.
He's Christopher Onanunga, Director General of the Liberia National Tourism Authority. Earlier, you listened to Professor Alari Tukpa, Chairman of the Governance Commission. Of the home front, a KM police officer stationed at one of the gates of the president's official residence in the capital, Nairobi, has died after being shot with an arrow, officials have said. Police said that on the morning of Monday, a 56-year-old armed with bow and arrows approached officers at the gate of the State House and was ordered to surrender. Instead, he moved forward and shot the police officer Ramadan Mataka in the ribs. The policeman was immediately taken to the hospital but died while ongoing treatment. According to a police statement, the attack has raised questions about possible security lapses, as State House is one of the most heavily guarded locations in Kenya. And Donald Trump's quick trip to Israel and Egypt was the victory lap he wanted. Anyone watching the speeches he made in Jerusalem and Sharm el-Sheikh could see a man luxuriating in his power, enjoying the applause in Israel's parliament, and in Egypt, basking in the fact that so many heads of state and government had flown in. One veteran diplomat in the room said it looked as if Trump saw the role of the world leaders there as extras on his film scene. Trump's message assembled as Trump was in effect that he had created a historical turning point. So in this news here, once again, our top stories. Liberia National Police clears suspended Youth and Sports Deputy Minister Brian McGill of rape allegations. IG Gregory Coleman says investigators found no incriminating evidence. St. Kennedy Funeral Parlor in Bond County issues 1-month ultimatum on families with overstayed remains at its facility, claims over 96,000 United States dollars for embalming costs. Maryland County Senator Blebo Brown accuses government of undermining Accra Peace Accord in violation of the nation's rule of law. Of the home front, a Kenyan police officer stationed at one of the gates of the president's official residence in the capital, Nairobi, has died after being shot with an arrow, officials have said. And Donald Trump's quick trip to Israel and Egypt was the victory lap he wanted. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who help in making this edition of King's Newsroom our sources. For more news and information on this station, do join us at 1 p.m. Better still, at 6 p.m. for our fresh news edition. Many thanks to all of you for listening and watching. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. I presented. Have yourself a wonderful morning.